blur. And I'll let show you. This is blur, motion blur. There are several more blurs are available, for you. So again, if you like to apply blur effect, motion blur effect, let's say this guy, I'm going to place this outside of this document. Okay, the composition. So I can this blur and then hit P position, right? Make a keyframe. I'm going to move this to in the 10 frame. Let's zoom in. All right, this initial keyframe, I move to 10 frame and then change X. Just like this. All right, very simple. 10 frames animation. 10 frames animation. So preview this. Okay, beautiful. This is okay. But by using this motion blurring effect or blur, there are several different types of blurs. You can add some kind of visual interest. It's going to be very appealing to viewers, your potential viewers. So instead of just, okay, this is good. So let's try to add some motion blur effect. You just go right here and then simply click this empty box. Done. Very easy, simple. This is. So what if you add some sound effect with ripping sound? That might be great. But I'll show you other blur options. Uncheck this. First, go to animation and you go to animation text and you can find this one, blur. Do you think this is different from this? I think so. It's blur. And then you should see blur under animator. So again, let me delete this one. Let's delete this type too. Okay, we have only one layer here. Unless you hit like a P, S, or T, and what is all, you won't see nothing under these layers. Okay, so let me hide it, everything there. But once you go to animation and animate text, you find a bunch of options. And at the very bottom of this drop-down menu, you can find the blur. This is different from this. Okay, we'll find out how different between these two. I'm going to click this blur, right? So look at this now. We have several lines under this blur layers. What kind of things? This is animator. You can actually close this one. See expanded and close. And then you'll see range as well as blur. Where did it come from? From here. From here. Oh, sorry. From here. All right. What you can do with this? All right. After blur, you should see, okay, the numbers like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. X. Definitely the first one is x-axis. Second one is y-axis. So if you increase that one, you can achieve blur effect. So what's interesting about this? So what if you like to apply this blur effect only one direction, like x-axis only, for instance, or in a y direction only, y-axis, x-axis, or y-axis? You can unlink this one, the constraint and proportion. See, I'll check this one. And then this is x1, and then you can make it something like this. Also, you can make something like this. So without applying this, the blur effect in both an x-axis, and y-axis as well, you can just apply it in one direction. Like for instance, let's make animation. This. But after this, okay. So let's preview this again. This is it. Nothing wrong with this. Okay. So our intention is to add some visual effect, some cool effect, just by using this blur. All right, this guy is moving this direction. It's moving horizontally, not vertically, right? Horizontally. So I think we have to deal with this in x-axis. X-axis. I'm gonna start with the. Okay, click on this stopwatch. We just created the initial keyframe for this one, not for position, not for rotation, no opacity, but for this blur, exclusively for this blur effect. and we create this initial keyframe for this guy. And then I'm gonna move this to this. Actually, this animation stops. Actually, the motion stops at the frame 10, right? Frame 10. Here, I'm gonna click on, okay, this, add or remove keyframe. All right, so we created, two keyframe for this, blur. Okay, let's preview this. So we don't see any blur effect. Why? Because this blur, the value of this blur is 0 for the initial keyframe. What about second one? Also 0. Of course, we should not see any blur effect. All right, now I'm gonna go to, let me zoom in this. Go to frame 1 right here. Okay, as soon as he departs, okay, I'm gonna add, do you see this? Just go by 100, okay, go like this, and then go to 9 frame, right, and then I'm gonna keep 100. Yeah. Okay, this one is 100 horizontal, you see below, and this one also 100. All right, 100, 100. What about here? 0. Does it make sense? Why we should add 0% and 0 value for motion blur at the end here? Because this guy stops. So we should not see. We're not supposed to see any motion blur anymore because this guy stops. That makes sense. So we are supposed to see motion blur while moving. This guy is moving. Say, preview this. If you like to achieve kind of extreme visual effect, so, let's say instead of 100, what if we use the 300 and also 300? Let's go. This one is 200 because it's when this guy reaches around 9 frame. It's almost his journey is almost end, right? Almost finished. So 200%. Okay. And then also you can adjust that kind of start. So look at this. Even more interesting to deal with the start. You can start the motion blur not from the frame 2. Is that right? From actually frame 1, but from somewhere here in between, middle. It's because I typed 50 instead of 0. Between 50 and 100. All right. So what's this? Yes, small difference. Okay, this is so we have checked the 2 different types of blur effect. Here is one. Another one is animation and animate text right here. Okay, one more. So I'm gonna delete this one. Now we should not see any blur effect. No blur. Another one is right here. So blur effect. Okay, do you see blur and sharpen? Yeah, probably too many options. Cross radial blur and vector blur. It's a radial fast blur. So here's another CC, Adobe CC. These are later, I think more up to date, blur effect. But these are a little older, but I think still widely to use. I think these are pretty popular ones, Gaussian and the radial and the directional blur. These are pretty popular ones. Compound blur. So I don't think we have checked every single blur effect, but I want you to explore those, blur effect. Interesting. Like here's a directional blur. I think this is quite similar from the one that we used here. So as soon as we click and choose one of this effect, blur, the one I chose with directional blur, and you'll find the effect that you just chose on the effect controls window. All of a sudden, new panel appears under here because we just chose one of these effects. So here's the project window where we can find our composition. And next to the project window, you should see effect controls window. And if you go to effect control window, you can find all the visual effect, After Effects effects that you have used. So for instance, so what after using this, you change your mind, I don't like this one, and then you can just delete it. You can delete it, or you can hide it, deactivate. You can deactivate this one, and you're not sure yet. Maybe I can use this later. Just leave it here instead of deleting. See, just FX, uncheck this one, and then you try something else. Go to Effect and Blur, and let's say you want to use the fast blur, fast box blur. You see that? So this is directional blur, currently inactivate, right? In idle, activate, deactivate it, and this is fast blur. So it's something. So go to Effect, and not only blur, also let's say you want to go to stylize, see the bunch of hairs, and let's say you want to apply some glow effect. You should see glow there. And then you should notice that every single option has stopwatch. Does it make sense? That means you can use all these options under this glow, or you can just use one or two, or or just one mixing, rather than mixing several things. Always, you're not happy with this, you can always hide it, so deactivate it, or you can delete it. So currently, we have two visual impact here. One is a directional blur, and the other one is a fast blur, but this one is unchecked and deactivated. So let's say if you like to use this directional blur, you check this back, and you see, you can mess with these numbers and so whatever reason you're not happy, you can always click reset. It goes back to the original setting. All right, let's animate this. This word by using the directional blur. How this works? So directional blur. I'm gonna go to the beginning, and then if you go to, here's a blur length here, and then this direction. I'm gonna click on this stopwatch, okay, to create an initial keyframe for this, or not actually the rotation. Okay, directional blur. This corresponds to this one. So that means you can work here. You see that? You can work here, or you can work here. Whichever you prefer, you can always close this. But you should see a new keyframe that we just created. How come this is white dot instead of diamond shape? Because we didn't expand it. Once you expand this, you will see diamond shape. See? And then we created this initial keyframe, and then go to whatever frame. Here's frame 9, and then I'm gonna change that. Let's change this blur length first. I'm gonna check with the blur length. Now you should see. Okay, this is the blur length. All right. Now you should see in the 2 keyframes. This is for directional blur. The second one is blur. So this is first direction. The second one is blur length. You can find the same thing, same menu, direction and blur length. They both have initial keyframe. Right. So I'm gonna go to frame 2. I change that one like this. Menu 200. All right. And then go to frame 9. Okay. The blur length, and then I'll click this one. Okay. I think I clicked wrong. Yeah, this is the right one. The third keyframe. Second keyframe and third keyframe are the same. And then go to keyframe 10. And then I'm going to change this below length 0. Right. So what's this? Okay. Do you understand why this blur is vertical rather than horizontal? Because of the direction. So direction, do you see this? Direction, this is in a vertical one. If I change that one, the direction, double click on this. And then the range. Okay, let's just go to second keyframe, and then let's change this from here. I think that's better. Or you can type here is 90. Okay, and then go to next keyframe, which is third keyframe, by clicking this one arrow. So I'm gonna, let's change this 90. Okay, let's go to beginning 0. Okay, second keyframe 90, and third keyframe also 90, and the fourth keyframe, I think that should be 0. It doesn't matter anyway. We don't see any blur effects. So look at this. It changed like this. Okay. So if double click, not double click, go to first keyframe. What if you change the 90 degree from the beginning? Let's see. Okay, this how come it's still 90? And the next keyframe, it's 90. Oh, looks like that's that should be 90. Yeah. And then last one, yeah, also change this 90. Okay, all 90, 90, 90, 90. Okay, see what's that. That's yeah, this is directional blur. Again, if you like to see kind of extreme, create some extreme visual effect, you can actually change this one. Go to blur length and change this 0, and the next one, instead of 200, let's go like 500. Then go to blur length, also 500. Yeah, let's change to 500. And the last one, yeah, this should be 0 because this guy stops at the frame. So flip this. So very weird. 0. It looks like it's 0. Okay, 500. And go to next. This should be 500. The last one. That, yeah, that's right. Actually, the Gaussian blur was pretty popular. Let's try this Gaussian blur here. See, you can create this kind of thing. We've probably seen, this kind of Gaussian, blur in effect many times, like a title, movie title, or some credit, some science fiction movies, or some scary movie, horror movies.
It's what it looks like when you don't have glasses on.
Yeah, looks like, yeah.